Right, so a few more colours down, and what we've done is we've basically just finished off base colouring the miniatures. So we've done the flesh, and we've also done any metal areas that we're going to do with black, ready to take the metallic colour over the top later. So a few of the buttons and buckles on the pack we've done black, just around there as well. And the helmet and the grenades he's got, we've done a dark green. We're going to do a lighter green over the top, but that's a good basis for what's going to come later. And the little extra medical pouch on his helmet, we've done a slightly different tan colour to the one that we've got on the sides and the back, just to give a little bit of variation and make a little spot colour as it was on there. So what are we up to now? Well, next we need to do a few highlights. So what we're going to do now is we've got the base colour of the darker brown on boots and the woodwork. So first of all, we'll highlight that, then we'll highlight the skin, then we'll do a light highlight on the green, and then we really just need to do some details. He's basically tabletop ready. At this stage, you might say he's actually pretty tabletop ready. As it is, he's not fully detailed, but if you imagine, I think that would look pretty good on a table already. Certainly rolls dice in our own group. Right, let's get on with some highlighting. So we're going to go with a slightly lighter brown than the one we've already utilised. And again, just give some on the palette, and we can put that near the brown we've already got, just in case we do need a bit of a mix in the middle. For a middle stage if we find that we're a little bit too dark or too light. I think what we'll do is we'll actually just give it a bit of a mix together there. It's something approximating the middle. That's pretty good. It's a sort of mahogany style colour. We're just going to apply that to the raised area. So that's just to be like the toe caps of the boots, and a bit rather much there. Toe caps of the boots, and the raised areas of the woodwork. So we'll do this around here. Raised areas and around the back of the boots as well. And that just gives a nice brown effect. It's almost iconic of the US paratroopers is the brown, light brown boots that they wore. So again, on tabletop, you want that to stand out a bit, and people know exactly what sort of force they're up against and what sort of force you're putting on the table against them. So again, just the raised areas there. I'll put a bit more on the toe cap area, just to accentuate that. A bit like that. There we go. Now quite a bit of the boot and toe cap ends up blending into the base quite often, so don't worry too much about it, but a little bit of extra just there will hopefully pop through any grass we put on later on. Now let's just put a bit on the woodwork of the rifle he's carrying as well. So it's a carbine here, sort of shortened version. Just put the raised areas here. And on the stock, it's going into his shoulder. And you can do a couple of layers of this. So you could do one just over the top of the brown initially, and then you could almost go back and get a little neat light brown. Just go across the edges just to really bring out the contrast in the edges of the model. We'll do that right on the top here as well. It adds to the highlighting effect. A bit around the side of the action here as well. At the back like that. Actually, if you just put a little bit more in the stock where it doesn't do his shoulder, really give that impression that it's got a good curve and angle on it, which of course it has. Okay, that's pretty effective. Now we can get a flesh colour. In this case, we're going to go with a basic, one of my favourites, Kislev flesh. And this is going to go over any raised areas of skin. So, obviously we used a darker flesh colour. In this case we used rat skin flesh. the sort of dwarven flesh would do as well. We can mix this a bit 50-50 as well. Just make it not quite as pale as fresh out the bot. And again, just the raised areas. So I'm just going to do top of the thumb there around the hand. Fingers on this side, we'll just pick them out like that and almost dry brush it across. Round to the trigger finger and the thumb across the top. That'll give us the right impression. For his hands around the edge there. Secure him back to his blue tack. There we go. And face. Now, what we're going to do across the nose, across the chin, and cheekbones, and down across the jawline. And that should give us just enough of an impression of where we need to be, without having to go too mad. I'm just going to do a bit on the neck there as well, just to show a highlighted difference there. So cheekbones, top lip, nose. I'm going to sort of bring the colour up along the jawline, just to show where it's coming from. And I think that's doing quite a good job there. Right, so that's the skin bit. We'll just do a bit more in the hand here. That's the thumb. And now we just need the green segment. Now the green, well, this is a darker green, so we're going to use a lighter camo green. I think this one should do. What's this one? Castellan green, that's usually what I call. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brush almost like a dry brush. Now you can use a specific dry brush as well if you like. In fact, I might show you that. There's a small dry brush here. Now what we might do is we're going to just use this just for the helmet, but you can use your own brush or the brush you use for everything else. And we'll use that on the grenades. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take small amount on here, and then on a piece of cloth I'm going to wipe most of the paint off. There's barely anything coming out. And what we're going to do is just lightly drag the colour across. I'll hold them steady while I do, and that should lighten that darker green with the camo colour as we build up the layers. Give us the right effect. Now, I just noticed there's actually like a leather strap across the helmet there as well, so we will just pick that out maybe in the dark brown we're using for the boots. Again, an easy way to do that is to do it light brown and then do a dark brown line inside that. And what that does is it kind of gives you the sort of shade and highlighting of the strap all in one go, rather than having to carefully line it out, which can be a bit tricky on small pieces of equipment on these models. Well, that's kind of getting the right green effect there, just tanning that, bring that a bit more light green, khaki green. And you can spend quite a lot of time slowly building up the dry brushing on these sort of images, and you can see the sort of almost dust effect as it comes off. A bit more on there actually. As you see, that's rather taken the edge off that, like the darker green, and giving it the effect that we kind of want. And again, we'll do that with the underside of the grenades. We'll finish those off and we'll come back to the next stage, which should be the metallic areas.